let's get into the solutions. So if we understand that the metabolic syndrome, the insulin resistance, is at the root of this, how is that affecting the liver? What are the mechanisms? And the first is overload. The liver is getting more work than it's equipped to handle, basically. Number two would be inflammation. And like I said, hepatitis is a stronger form of inflammation, but when we're talking this general inflammation, it's a low-grade chronic inflammation that's associated with metabolic syndrome. And number three is lack of resources. The liver is very hard working, and if we want it to do work, we have to provide some fuel and some resources for it to do that. So let's look at these in a little bit more detail. Overload is basically three things that we give too much. One is sugar, two is alcohol, and three is toxins. So with sugar, what we need to understand is that things like bread, which has glucose in it, that raises blood glucose, that's not nearly as hazardous for the liver because the glucose can be processed by every cell in the body. But these three, the sugar, which contains 50% fructose, 50% glucose, the fructose portion can only be processed in the liver. The alcohol and the toxins can only be processed in the liver. So all the other stuff gets spread out over all the cells in the body, but these three, we overload the liver because it's the only thing that can handle those. And the toxins that only the liver can handle are things like medications and pesticides and heavy metals and so forth. And even though very small amounts don't hurt us, the liver is equipped to handle that. If the liver is overwhelmed with other things, then these small amounts of toxins can also start building up and hurting us. The low-grade chronic inflammation that causes a lot of these problems is associated with the congestion that results from high levels of insulin and this metabolic syndrome.